Well, welcome everyone. Glad to have you take time out of your busy schedule and out of this beautiful spring day to come here to Renewed Vitality this night and for this seminar. Most of you are probably familiar with a lot of the things that we do, but I just thought that we would review that again. And so some of our unique treatments are weight loss management, and some of you have been through the weight loss program. We do seminars on that about 3 times a year. We do, of course, bioidentical hormone replacement for men and women, and also age management, sleep therapy, and fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and tonight's seminar is on body detoxification. And this is our team of providers. We have 3 of them here tonight. Dr. Spurlock, who is our medical director, and then Roxana Kokos and also Amanda Holscher. They will be our presenters tonight. And in addition, we have an office in Las Colinas where Dr. Leanne Scott and Elise Lewis work. And with that, I would like to go ahead and turn the time over. Oh, well, prior to that, just to say what we're going to cover tonight. The bulk of the program is actually be on a product that is called Core Restore, and it is a liver detox. And so that's what we're going to cover mostly tonight. But to be thorough, there are more than one system in your body that needs to be detoxed or detoxified. And so there is a lymphatic system detox, which we'll cover at the end, also a heavy metals detox, and a gallbladder flush and detox as well. And so we will talk about all of those. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Spurlock.
This way? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, y'all know my name. I try to tell y'all some stuff, but there's so much stuff to tell you at times that there's no way you can comprehend all of it. And a lot of you have brain fog and you don't remember it anyway, so we have to work through all of that. And this is partially due to these issues. So 14 pounds of pesticides, herbicides, food additives, and preservatives. I think there's a list in here. You'll see the dirty dozen. And like for strawberries alone, they spray 14 different chemicals on the regular strawberries. So it's very important to understand what you're being exposed to and what you're consuming. And we just don't pay attention. And when we get to the liver detox, I want to explain something to you. I don't have a better analogy, so if any of y'all have one for me, you just tell me. We do your liver test and we don't see anything wrong. It looks fine. But that's not true. It is not damaged, but it's like 5 state workers on the side of the road with 5 shovels. 4 are leaning on their shovels and 1 is doing the work. Our liver is at 20% function. It is not functioning. It's doing the bare necessities for us to survive, but the real work it's supposed to do, it doesn't do. What really pushed me to do this year was that I had a patient I was having extreme trouble with. She had very bad estrogen dominance, and we were doing everything possible and nothing was working. And so eventually she came back in January and she said, Dr. Spurlock, look at my labs. And they were all normal. I said, what'd you do? She said, I did a liver detox and I did some DIM and she got it all under control. So the issue is, okay, everybody's been asking me to do this. I'm finally going to move forward and we're going to do this now. Now, what we're going to talk about is that this is going to be something that's not part of your treatment plan. This is going to be something that we encourage every one of our patients to do every year. We do not do all 4 of those things we mentioned on the first slide at once. We do not do that. We do them throughout the year. We may do one every 3 months, and it should be something you routinely do. I'll give a little bit more information about that in a minute, but the issues are is that, but the liver not getting rid of toxins out of your body is very difficult. Now, we have 3 major detoxification processes in our body. One is the liver. And it does a lot of the chemicals, and it changes chemicals into something that can be removed from the body. All of your hormones and chemicals in your body are degrade after a while, and they are processed through the liver and come out. and they have to be changed. For you ladies, you'd want that estrogen to be changed to 2-hydroxyestrone by the liver. If you do not do that and you make 16-hydroxyestrone, that is carcinogenic. And that has to do with your liver function. Okay? I talked to you, a lot of y'all, about some other products we're not going to go into tonight, but taking endo-3-carbinol or DIM, because those two make you process estrogen correctly in your liver. So behind this is there's this whole thing of if the liver's not doing its job, things just hang around that shouldn't hang around. Now, where do they go if they just hang around? Fat. They stay in your fat supplies. God actually made it where we have more fat when we have more toxins, so we have some place to store it so it doesn't go in our bloodstream and it doesn't go in our brain. I want you to understand that. So sometimes fat is holding toxins, and until you get rid of those toxins, you won't be able to lose the fat. So it's really important to understand this. So I just talked about strawberries, but think about everything you eat. Okay, so that's an issue. Okay, it's important to periodically restore the body's ability to cleanse itself and eliminate toxins. This is something you should do once a year. Okay, and this is, I talk about the 4 pillars of health for your future health, but we also talk about digestion, elimination, microflora balance, and gut integrity. Digestion is the food that we eat, and if it's good food, it's good for you. If it's bad food, it's bad for you. Elimination, when I talked about the liver, the bile is where all these toxins are. And so with that, we need to, think about this a bit, is that where the toxins are. And so it comes out through the bile. What if you're missing your gallbladder? The bile just leaks out continuously at some speed that we really don't know what it does. So it creates problems. But elimination is also through the kidneys. That's your other detox organ that we talk about. And the skin is a detox organ. So Dr. Ray's clinic advocates saunas and sweating. But again, liver and kidneys are equally important. Microflora balances in your gut has to do with the good bacteria. Do you know there are good viruses? They're in your gut too. They're beneficial viruses. And then gut integrity. That has to do with the lining of the intestinal tract. And when I preach and preach and preach and preach y'all not to eat wheat, I'm doing it for a reason. Wheat destroys the lining to the intestinal tract. That's why I keep saying that. It's not just because I think it's a fad thing to do. So what are toxins? Harmful to the body. So when the GI tract's not functioning optimally, additional burden is placed upon the liver. When the incoming toxins exceed the liver's ability to remove them, it's considered a toxic burden. Toxins are fat soluble and they are attracted to the fatty portion of cells throughout the body. There are air toxins, smog, pollution, auto exhaust, solvents, heavy metals, pesticides, insecticides, radiation, inhalants. I have a patient came in yesterday. He has 3 companies. One of them is a pesticide company, and he sprays it all the time. He's not doing well at all, and I have asked him to slow down his work and sell the pesticide company for more than one reason. Okay? But he needs to slow down, and he needs to quit making himself toxic. But we get exposed to these. What is radiation from? What do you think most of us get radiation from today? Cell phones is your major, but there's going to be 5G. It's going to be worse. It's coming. And then you have your microwave, and you have all these other devices in your house that have radiation coming. That is our major thing. If you have high-tension power lines coming out of your house, major radiation exposure. So you need to think about that. All humans have chemicals in storage. This is what I discussed a while ago. And these are the issues. I have a lady that we're detoxing lead out of her right now. And she's a beautiful 59-year-old woman, and she is complaining about this little fat pad down here. And I told her, stop. And she said, what, Dr. Spolak? I said, God did that on purpose. I says, until we get this lead out of you, we're not going to be able to get rid of the fat pad. When we get the lead out of you, then that will be able to go away. But the body will self-protect you so that all that crap is not in your bloodstream. But this is, and so it says dioxins, PCBs, known causing cancers, and they said it caused by diet and environment. Well, you're just absorbing these things. And other studies show 100% of human fat samples contain styrene, a known carcinogen. So again, the xylene, the things. Do you know that carpets have 14 different solvents in them? Why we don't encourage you to get new carpet in your house? Okay, are you really at risk? Well, we're all at risk. And so talking about these different things and where they come from, and most people don't think about it, but the plastics are a big part of the problem. But the copy paper, inks, paints, furnishings. The last patient I saw this afternoon, I was asking, what do you do for business? The major problem with him is he flies airplanes all the time. Bad air. Okay, so this is it. So, but things come in there. Do you know that M&Ms have petroleum products in them? I posted that article recently. The candies that have bad stuff in them. Yes, petroleum products in M&Ms. Okay, we inhale these every day in the home. And so, all of you ladies know that you don't mix Clorox with Comet, right? It makes chlorine gas and you will die. So you do not do that in your bathroom. Okay, so we have these other chemicals. When you smell them, that indicates they're entering your body. Okay? That's what you need to remember. Anything that you spray enters your body. When we smell perfumed candles and stuff, some of that's entering your body. It says, just wearing a newly dry clean suit can give you measurable levels of trichloroethylene. What is my advice about that? If it's nice weather, have a rack outside and hang your dry clean clothes out there for 3 or 4 hours before you bring it in the house. This is a long one. This talks about a lot of chemicals and the things they do in atrazine. And, just to read these green sentences, an overlap in areas where the herbicide, but it's going to show you a picture in a minute where it creates certain problems. And a BMI is your body mass index. Over 30 is considered, morbidly obese. Chronic administration of atrazine decreased basal metabolic rate, increased body weight, intra-abdominal fat, insulin resistance without changing food intake or physical activity, high-fat diet, further exacerbated the insulin resistance and obesity. Okay, and this didn't show up completely. These results are considered long-term herbicide, might contribute to development. Here's the country and those areas up there around, the Ohio and that central region is where they see the most of this particular herbicide being done. You see a little bit around Dallas, but not a lot. But it's, those people are going to have a much bigger problem just because of it's in there. And it does go through the air. And even if you don't do the farming and you don't have the chemical, it still can get on you. We have a family that Florence and I know, we still see some of the family today. They live next to in Arkansas to a Christmas tree farm. And they kept spraying them, and all of them on that property that didn't have the Christmas tree farm got sick. All of them. Okay, so cosmetics. I had a lady today. She has some lead poisoning. She had bright red lipstick on. And she's about 65, and she's been wearing bright red lipstick for her whole life. L'Oreal is the worst, but they contain lead. Okay, I told them there's a website called ewg.org that tells you about all the cosmetics and skincare products, and it will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Skincare products, and this is going to be mentioned here a little bit later, I believe, but anything you put on your skin is in your bloodstream in 26 seconds. 26 seconds. Doesn't take long. Nicotine, of course. But you know what else is with the cigarette? The paper. Cadmium, arsenic, and cyanide. That's what makes it burn slowly and evenly. Are they trying to kill their customers? I don't get it. Alcohol, it can be alcohol, but alcohols are dissolve things in them and they pull things with them, so you have to be careful with alcohol. Caffeine is a stimulant that may have things in it. Did you know that Starbucks coffee, they add double the caffeine to it, and then they add wheat to it because it's addictive and it makes you want to drink more of it. Dunkin' Donuts doesn't do that, but Starbucks does. Prescription drugs, well, they have, fillers. What's in the fillers? And then the over-the-counter drugs, the same things. Is you have to source all your products. We try to teach y'all to read the labels and make sure you know what's in there so you don't hurt yourself. And this is about skincare. It's the largest organ. And the average woman uses 126 unique chemical ingredients daily with their skincare products. Men, we don't do that much, but women might, okay? And then all these different synthetic things that are in there, they're absorbing into your bloodstream through the skin. Water toxins. And this is what's in the water that we drink, and it can be from our tap water, it can be from our bottled water. Actually, sometimes it's no different than tap water. So you have to, again, source that. If you go on my Facebook page, I frequently list, the 10 worst water bottle companies, and we will list those things so you'll know which ones certainly not to use. We also know the bottles have BPA's in them, which are estrogen mimics, which are not good for women, but they're certainly not good for men or little boys. And so we look at all these things, and it has to do with the wash off of the fertilizers that get into our lakes and our rivers. And so then decomposition, metals, solvents. Our old water lines all used to be lead. And they put an anti-corrosive in there so the lead wouldn't leach out. Do you want to swallow an anti-corrosive? No, we need to change the pipes, okay? And like I said, the pesticides leak into the water supply. And so we have, the food additives, the meats that have hormones and antibiotics. If you're allergic to Cipro, and they give Cipro to a cow, and you eat that meat and you get sick, what was it? But you don't know that because they don't tell you what's in that meat, okay? Refined foods and sugars, dietary choices, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides. Just because it's organic does not mean it's totally free of everything. And some of the apples and pear farms, they spray antibiotics on those things. And antibiotics are supposedly safe, but not necessarily. These are the dirty dozen. And it's because, so that's why these, you need to be careful which ones you buy, because these are the ones that have the most stuff sprayed on them. Chlorine, bleach, these are things where you're inhaling it. Ammonia, phenol and cresol, and those are disinfectants. Nitrobenzene, formaldehyde. Do you know that they don't do this much more, the paneled walls of trailers, mobile homes, have huge amounts of formaldehyde in them. The new ones. They need to outgas. Naphthalene and found in mothballs, and then the hydrochloric acid is found in toilet bowl cleaners. So if you're smelling it, you're getting it in your body. And so this is the 26-second rule. And so that's why we talk about, be careful what's in your home. Not even going into mold at this point, but that's another issue. And then internal toxins, and of course, you can get bacteria, yeast, fungal overgrowth, byproducts of reactions, undigested food, stress, unresolved trauma, abuse, unhappy relationships. What they do is they create a chemical cocktail from stress that creates problems throughout your body. Okay.
Did you say that cigarette paper was formaldehyde?
No.
And arsenic?
No. Cyanide, arsenic, and cadmium.
And what's the third?
Cyanide, arsenic, and cadmium. Cadmium, yeah. In the wine boxes, the antimony is in the plastic in those boxes, and that's I've seen some toxicities from that.
These have formaldehyde or nucleus too, didn't they?
Oh, they have all kinds of stuff. That's why you probably ought to bring it home and hang it out or wash it. Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for spending your evening with us. So let's talk about signs and symptoms that your detoxification pathways are impaired. How many of you identify with any of these listed in here? The number one is gut issues. Digestion issues, poor absorption of foods, and then elimination problems. Those are the most common ones that I hear from my patients. Problems with heartburn, reflux, diarrhea, constipation, nausea. Elevated cholesterol. We know that when your cholesterol is elevated, the bad cholesterol, the LDL, and then the triglycerides, we know that your liver is not working properly. Overweight and underweight. We know already that people with overweight issues, they have a lot of potential for chronic conditions. But there's also the underweight, which are actually malnourished people. So they lack the nutrients that your liver needs to have in order to detoxify properly. Allergies, this is a huge category, very common. But it's really the way I look at it, it's environmental, which Dr. Spurlock already mentioned some of those, and then food sensitivities. I see a lot of patients that come from specialist offices where they had a blood test or a skin test, but they really look for an immediate reaction to that particular type of food. They don't look for a chronic reaction to those foods. So wheat, Oftentimes they get tested, it shows negative. Well, guess what? You actually have a sensitivity to that. Skin disorders. So this is a way of your body trying to tell you something. When you have acne, when you have eczema, when you have psoriasis, it's a way of your body eliminating toxins through the skin because your liver is not working properly. They have to get out somehow, somewhere. So people that have acne, very common, it's usually a lactose intolerance. People that have eczema, could be anything. And then psoriasis, it's oftentimes associated with many other autoimmune conditions like Hashimoto's, lupus, and then it's also a illness associated with insulin resistance. So people that are pre-diabetic, diabetic, they actually have psoriasis. Fatigue, very common, nonspecific. Almost all of us have some amount of that, but we need to find out why that's happening. Mood swings, so anger, depression, anxiety. I tell my patients it really starts in your gut. Gut is your second brain, and so if you don't have the right balance in your microbiota, if you are not able to make those neurotransmitters, you're going to be off balance. You're going to have all those ups and downs, and no matter how many prescriptions you're on, it's not going to change anything for you until you address the cause. And dark circles under the eyes. So this is really a sign, I call them allergic shiners, but it's really a sign of chronic inflammation of your sinuses. Your body's trying to tell you something. You're chronically inflamed. Whatever you're bringing in, I'm reacting to that. So a lot of swelling, mucus, congestion. So this is interesting. CDC in 2006, so that was 13 years ago. I wonder what the statistics are now. So they found that the average American has about 116 of 148 synthetic compounds in the body. That's a lot. And what they've tested for was dioxin, polycyclic hydrocarbons, and pesticides. So those are the most common ones. Those are the ones that you breathe. You find them in the food chain. You find them in your skincare products. You find them in your food. Further studies revealed that those substances were found in human milk, placenta, umbilical cord blood, and the blood and body fat of newborns. The average umbilical cord contains 270 neurotoxins, of which 208 are known to cause birth defects. So then we have this endemic of pediatric cancers, of autism, of all kinds of neurotoxicity in those babies, and we don't know why. We're just not looking in the right place. And this is evident of the burden of how our detoxification capacities have become resulting in surge of those toxins. So we get overwhelmed by this toxic soup, and then if you're lacking the right ingredients to bring in to help your liver detoxify, you're up for a bad scenario. So this is interesting. We eat about 30 to 50 tons of food in a lifetime. That's a lot. That's a lot. But most patients that have GI issues, they also have a higher level of toxins. And so because you have all those gut issues, you're not able to absorb the nutrients that you need. So I tell my patients all the time, it's very important the good stuff you put in, the nutrients, the supplements, the vitamins, but it's more important the poison that you leave out. And they develop those symptoms that are different from the underlying cause or the true cause, because your body's trying to find a way to eliminate those toxins. So the example that I give here, it's asthma and allergies, eczema, for example, right? So asthma, it's a way of your body releasing those toxins through the respiratory tract. Eczema, it's a way of your body releasing those toxins through your skin. And it's actually the least expensive and non-invasive method that you will be using as a first-line approach to treating gut issues. So we often recommend to our patients an elimination diet. I tell my patients to kind of keep a food diary, kind of sort out the foods. Be aware of your symptoms before you eat something. Once you eat something and you notice something is changing, kind of write it down. And that way will help you to sort things out. So this is an interesting picture here. So fat is actually an insulation mechanism. It's a self-defense mechanism. It's a way of of your body trying to protect you against those toxins. So we gain the weight because we're exposed to this toxic soup, and we have to kind of dilute them out, right? So we gain the fat, those toxins are spread, but once you actually do some dieting, you cut down your calories, you do some exercise, you lose some of the weight, but guess what? You're actually increasing your toxic density. So that means you have less fat, the same amount of toxins, but on a smaller surface. And then you end up with rebounding weight gain because your body's trying to get back in balance. So really the best way to do it, and this is what we recommend to our patients, it's actually, as many of you know, that we recommend this HCG diet, and so it's good to do this step of liver detoxification before you actually do the diet. So you kind of prepare yourself for your body to be able to handle the toxic load. And then as you eat clean, you exercise, you lose the weight, you get rid of the toxins, then you're able to maintain a healthy weight. So the liver, it's quite an interesting organ. It's really the only organ that it's able to regenerate by itself if you have at least 25% of it functioning normally. It filters blood, so every drop of blood in your body has to go through the liver and then eventually will go through your kidneys. It actually functions as a storage place. Certain vitamins, A, D, E, K, vitamin B12, and then glucose, it's turned into glycogen for your body to later use if you need it. Breaks down steroid hormones, so estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all the things that we recommend to you, they go through your liver. And then produces and secretes bile. So this is important for digestion. For patients that had their gallbladder removed, I often recommend digestive enzymes, ox bile. You need to bring that in, you need to supplement that because your body's no longer able to digest fat and protein properly. So you need to bring that in. And then it's the primary organ of detoxification. So this is interesting. As I was reading through this presentation, I thought, the liver, it's really the mastermind, is the master biochemist of your body, because it's quite a complicated process that's going on in our liver, and it's actually a biotransformation process. So it goes through two different phases. Phase 1 goes through this cytochrome P450, which is a bunch of enzymatic reactions, which really changes those toxins that you inhaled or ate or you've been exposed through your skin into even a more toxic substance, and that's called an intermediary metabolite. And this one is often more toxic than the one that you started out with. So it's all a lot of biochemistry, and for the ones that are interested, I actually have a pretty interesting article on those two phases of liver detox. You have to be very chemistry savvy to understand all those processes, and it's a lot of tongue twisters in this article. So anyhow, interesting. And in phase 2, you actually turn this intermediary metabolite in something that your body can get rid of. So it's associated with a hydroxyl group, and it turns to be water soluble, so you can eliminate it through the bile and then through urine and stool. Now this is a very nice summary here because it kind of gives you a list of what are the possible toxins, and Dr. Spurlock already mentioned some of them. So metabolic end products, microorganisms, that means bacteria, viruses, fungi. Actually, your liver has a phagocytic function as well. That means it eats up some of those bacteria and viruses that go through the blood. So it kind of filters that out. Contaminants, pollutants, insecticides, pesticides, food additives, dyes, and preservatives. I tell my patients all the time, stay away from anything that is bagged, canned, or boxed. Read the labels. You would be surprised the food-like that goes in those packaging and how toxic they actually are for our bodies. Drugs, we already know that. Pretty much every drug goes through your liver, more so Tylenol. It's kind of notorious for causing liver damage. And then alcohol. And those are listed here, what you need to be able to detoxify through phase 1 and phase 2. So those are really supplements, vitamins, nutrients, B vitamins, folate, fat-soluble vitamins A and D, antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin E, milk thistle, which is really a plant, but we use the active ingredient of this plant. And then calcium and glutathione, which we know is the master antioxidant. Phase 2, you need a lot of amino acids to be able to sustain that process. And so glycine, taurine, glutamine, cysteine, and then sulfur-based compounds, that's where your broccoli goes in. Those cruciferous vegetables are rich in those sulfur-based compounds, and that's how it helps you detoxify. This DIM that Dr. Spurlock was talking about, it's actually rich in this extract. And then once you have gone through phase 2, you eliminate this through the bile, and then it goes in stool and urine. So this was interesting. Dr. John Lasseter had done the studies, and he found that whichever chemical you've been exposed to, and I'm not sure which one he studied, 10% can go to your bone, 15% to your liver, 20% to the brain, and so on. So kind of all of it gets absorbed in some part of your body. But those percentages vary from person to person. And so each individual has a different ability to detoxify those toxins. We actually look at some genetic mutations. This methylation that we talk to you a lot, it's actually part of that phase 2. So for people that have these genetic mutations and they're not able to detoxify properly, they need certain B vitamins that need to be added. So, you know, if you use too many of those nutrients without replenishing, so without eating properly, without taking your multivitamin, you end up being more vulnerable to whichever chemical you're going to be exposed next. So you have to do your due diligence. Oh. So this is a nice summary of really, truly the drugs that you take, you know, what they do to your body in terms of how they interact and what nutrients they deplete for you. So go through your list at home, see what medications you're on, go back to this chart, and then you will know for sure what you need to add to make sure that you're not deficient and you're able to detoxify properly. I think we're pretty aggressive about a lot of those medications here. And then the pillars of health that we look at and we recommend, they kind of cover the basics with what you might actually need to detoxify properly. Well, that was quick.
Thank you. So I'm Amanda Fulcher. I don't think I recognize most of you. I'm a little bit newer to the practice, so it's nice to meet you all. This is my first time speaking at one of our seminars here at this location. I've spoken for Larg once or twice. So nice to meet you all. So I'm going to actually talk about the Core Restore program itself. So it's a 7-day program in the box, and you can see over here that's what it looks like, the box that it comes in. And you can actually, it comes as a 7-day pack, but we may recommend that you do 14 days or 21 days, just depending on what the right option for you and your individual needs are. It's just that's how it comes in the package. And we recommend doing that once or twice a year for most patients. But again, we're going to talk to you individually and see what's the most appropriate action for you. It provides the body with the essential nutrients for detoxification. So whether that's the ingredients for you to make glutathione, one of those pathways that helps us kind of detox and conjugate and get those toxins out of the body. Am I okay for you? Sorry. Okay, I moved. So B vitamins, for instance, you saw that on the prior slide. A lot of these drugs, metabolism will deplete those. So it's going to be replacing those types of things, and I'm going to get more specific shortly. It provides clean protein and fiber as well. Clean protein so that you're not putting more toxins in, and then fiber to help you move things out. And it can unmask other GI health issues as well, because as we know, if you have a rate-limiting step up here, you might not know about a rate-limiting step down here in your health. So here are the program goals. The very first thing you're going to do is remove the toxic burden. So we're going to change your diet. The first 2 days are actually fasting, where you're just going to be, for your nutrition, taking this. You're not going to be having regular meals. You're going to have this, and you're going to have good, clean water. At my house, we use a reverse osmosis system because we don't like all those bad bottled waters that Dr. Spurlock spoke about. And you'll see in the handbook that comes with it, foods to avoid and foods to bring in.
the foods to avoid here on page 17, and then the foods that increase detoxification here. So for instance, I am a fan of the chocolate. Some people will go with the vanilla. If you're not a huge fan of the taste, a little pinch of salt, maybe some berries or something from here to make it really taste good and increase that detoxification, that is a good way to approach the program. Put that back in the stack. Restore, so support that process. Again, it's going to be the clean water. It's going to be drinking the core support to restore those vitamins and give you that clean protein. And then revitalize, this kind of adds into those capsules that are part of the program. And you can see those here and here. So those are going to, again, provide those ingredients necessary for that phase 1 and phase 2 detox. And so altogether, that's what the program accomplishes. So again, first 2 days are fasting, core support powder, and you're going to be taking the alpha base on those days. And then the rest of the week, you're going to add in PhytoCore, and then the foods that are recommended in the patient handbook. And they actually have recipes you'll see in the back and meal plan options. So if you're the type who's just like, tell me what to do, we have that for you. So in the core support, that's the powder, we have 15 grams of protein, 5 grams of fiber, support for phase 2 pathways. And this is important to start with that phase 2 pathway, because if you don't do that, it's like opening up a dam and you haven't cleared debris downstream. You're just kind of get a clogged up mess. And so you're going to have those intermediate metabolites that haven't been fully metabolized. Sometimes those are actually more toxic than your initial drug that you've taken itself. And so you don't want that. You don't want to have this hold up after phase 1 and you can't get phase 2 metabolism done. So we get that going first. And so in there, there's that Vita Veggie, I think that's a proprietary mix, green tea, rosemary, and then to increase cellular energy. And that's for the body's cells, liver cells, all cells. There's N-acetylcysteine, acetyl L-carnitine, and alpha lipoic acid. And then we have the alpha base. That's the packet of pills that you're going to start with from day 1. It's got all of the cofactors, the vitamins and minerals that are needed for actually both pathways. High doses of vitamin B and high doses of antioxidants. And that's because you don't have a toxin that just enters the liver and stays there and everything happens to it and it goes. These metabolites circulate through our body. That's why those estrogen metabolites, that 2-hydroxyestrone, is, cancer causing, and we hear about breast cancer. It's not because it stays in the liver, it's because it circulates. So we want to have that antioxidant support to help our whole body manage the detox process. The PhytoCore, that's that final bottle here. That's the one that you're going to start on day 3. And it's got, again, nutrients and herbs ready to support that pathway. Lipotropics, that means fat burning materials. So methionine, that's important for glutathione production, which is really a master antioxidant, part of the phase 2 detox process. Choline and inositol. So if you read like Slim Shots, they'll say MIC injections, methionine, inositol, choline. Inositol is also important in neurotransmitter production. And the choline, I have to check my notes. Sorry. Important for methylation. So again, that's another detox pathway. The choleretics or cholagogues, that means that you're secreting bile. It's going to help you secrete that bile. That's what's going to bring it, as Roxana said, from the liver to those elimination organs, whether that's through urine or stool. So we have dandelion, yellow dock, beet leaf, those ingredients to help you increase that bile production, to really be able to dissolve, essentially, those toxins that are ready to be moved out and move them out. And that's where the fiber comes into in the first product, because we want, once they get into the digestive tract, we want those toxins to stay there and not get reabsorbed. And the silymarin, am I saying that right? Silymarin? Okay, so that's that milk thistle product. And that also helps with strong antioxidant protection and detox. And a blank slide. Okay, so you saw this, I referred to this, and really hold on to it. Keep it kind of close by so that you have that reference for what foods are really best for detox. It doesn't do good to do this whole program, but still kind of be throwing that stuff, the bad stuff in. And so you can see here, this is kind of a small example. I don't think most people can read that. I think I have a hard time reading that here, but this is in the book, and it lists the fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds and dairy and certain grains that are not going to be hindering your detox process. And then the foods to avoid. And most of this is fairly obvious, but things like peanuts, dairy, even those we want you to avoid. Most people might think of those as healthier. We obviously kind of disagree there. Things like corn, wheat, sodas, anything that your body is really going to have to work hard at. Anything you put in your body, on your body, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to nourish you or poison you. It just about nothing is neutral. Uh-oh, hit the wrong button, maybe? Okay. So they added some slides. This is more from the notebook, I'm sorry, from the patient handbook here. I'm gonna have to look with you. And it goes over getting started. So it's essentially what I said. You're going to take 2 scoops of the powder, 2 of the alpha-based capsules, and then in the evening, same thing, 2 scoops of powder, 2 capsules. And you're going to be fasting on that day. But here's a sample meal plan, which you would start on day 3 and day 4. Grilled chicken with peaches, mixed berry smoothie, strawberry salad, so on and so forth. And you can find all of these recipes in here too, and I found that really helpful. Entree recipes, and here's just an example so that you see the details. It gives you the ingredients, the instructions. There's also a shopping list in there. I don't know if the shopping list is exactly specific to the meal plan per se, but it does give you a good idea of, let me bring this checklist with me to the grocery store and here's what I have to work with. And so if you were going to do, I guess, a 28-day protocol, this gives you an example of how many capsules to take on what days, how many scoops of powder. And there's the other 14 of last 28 days. Again, same information I've given you. We have you mix it with water, rice milk, coconut milk, or almond milk. Again, not dairy-based milk. We're having you avoid that. 2 alpha-based capsules. And then same thing in the evening. And again, for taste, a little pinch of salt does a lot for stevia. I know some of us are sensitive to stevia. I am not a stevia fan. I get that very bitter taste. Dr. Spurlock came up with a brilliant pinch of salt, and it really kind of neutralizes that bitterness. And then maybe some berries. I like the chocolate. I think the chocolate is definitely my favorite. Benefits, obviously, you're doing this to feel better. That's why you're here. You want to be healthier. You want to feel good, feel like your body is active and ready to be doing what you want it to do. Change your filter. As Roxana explained, this is your body's filter. And it's much more complicated than that. It's not just a catch-all. It's got a lot of work to do to really move things out of the body. Weight loss. As Dr. Spurlock explained, our body can't lose weight if we need that fat to hold on to toxins that are in our body. So as we really are able to flush out those things, it prepares us to lose weight. And again, it had the methionine, the inositol, the choline. These are fat-burning enzymes that we need to be able to process and use fat. Stored toxins and fat will be released. So again, lots of water is important in this process. We want to be able to move that along. And we want to get rid of those toxins. We don't want to be storing them. Obviously, yes, we can. That's what the fat is for, as Dr. Spurlock explained, but that's not the goal. The goal is to get this out of our body so that it's not causing harm. And it's really beneficial for the entire body. As I explained, there's a lot of antioxidants, a lot of vitamins. Our cells need these products. And so here you see kind of the whole big example up here. And back to Dr. Spurlock.
Okay, so that's the basis of Core Restore for the liver detox. We're going to talk about 3 more detoxes right now that are simple and easy, and they're also something that we think you should incorporate. The purpose of our clinic here is to restore you back to your core health, and that's what we really want to focus on. Replacing missing hormones and nutrients is what you've noticed from us mostly in the past. We do some weight loss, we do some other things that we do along with that, and we've been doing some of this along but not pushing it. And by that I mean is that I've really come to the place in my career where I think this is something that we need to do because of what we're exposed to. So thyroid is your detox hormone. So without thyroid you can't detox. So a lot of these things are done, in preparation for the next phase. So the lymphatic detox, I've been doing this for years. This I actually learned from Anna Louise Gettleman. Ann Louise Gittleman is one of the most brilliant nutritionists in this country. She wrote the book, The Fat Flush Plan. It's a wonderful diet. It costs a lot of money to do that diet because of all the food you have to buy that's bizarre, but it is fun. And she was actually funny because she taught us how to do a modified diabetic diet and a modified diabetic rotation diet, which was really cool because most of us don't do that. But it makes you feel better. But she said that she always had people do this first. And this removes the sludge from your lymphatic system because your body will start getting rid of toxins and crap, and it goes through your lymphatic system. Think of it as your sewage system. And it goes to the liver as your processing station to process it, to remove it from the body safely. Okay, so what if it's backed up? Well, then you're not going to process things quickly. So we want you to clean this out. And this is very simple. It does not involve any supplements, and you'll understand that in a minute, but allows the lymphatic system to move fats and toxins from the tissues to the liver for removal. So it's pretty simple. So you take pure, unsweetened cranberry juice. It'll almost look black. It says a dark maroon color, but it's in bottles. You can get it at Kroger's, Whole Foods, Central Market. It's not cranberry cocktail. It's the dark stuff. You use 8 ounces of it in 56 ounces of water, which makes 64 ounces. That's a half a gallon. You drink that amount every day for 2 weeks, once a year. Okay, now that becomes your basic beverage for 2 weeks. I fill up a 64-ounce container, and I have to finish it before I go to bed. That's how I do it. So I keep it on my desk at work, and I just pour it every time I go there and drink some. And then by the time I go to bed, I have to finish it. So that's how I make myself do it. I found me a 64-ounce container that I can just take with me. It's really simple. The only problem is some people can't stand cranberry. This is not very sweet. Of course, you could add stevia to it if you want to, maybe a little xylitol or erythritol. But basically, this is, and we're not encouraging you to do all 4 of these at once. We think that would be detrimental to do all 4 at once. So that's not what we're recommending. But this is one. A lot of times when I'm doing a lot of y'all know about the infection protocol that we do here when we find viruses and bacteria, funguses in you. We treat you. Well, I've had some patients swell up and gain 25 pounds overnight when we do that program. Well, I automatically do this, and all that weight comes off because they've got sludge in their system. But this is something we need to remove that sludge once a year. That's pretty simple. The heavy metals detox. I've been doing this every year for several years, and there's a lot of interesting issues. But where do we get heavy metals from? Well, arsenic comes from factory chicken. And why is that in factory chicken? They add it to the feed to keep the parasite levels down. You can use oregano oil to do the same thing, but most of them still use arsenic. Rice from China, they don't add arsenic to it. It's in the soil. And so you really should not eat rice from China because you can't source it. But it's just naturally occurring. If you go to Lubbock, well, you're going to be exposed to fluoride. I mean, there's just places where you have a lot of bad stuff. Mercury is mostly our major thing is probably going to be seafood. It's also if you still have the silver mercury fillings, you can still be getting it from there. And then lead, anybody that goes to rifle range once a week, they're probably going to have it because it's in the air. The red lipstick in women. The other issue is there's still some lead pipes in our water supplies, and it could be if you're drinking household water, you don't know what's in there, you could be getting it. Sometimes they save the lead joints and connected the PVC pipe to the lead joint, and it's still there. So we don't really know what our city's done to us. Okay, so we have a product, I think it's called Corella Plus. I've been doing the Corella for years, and it is a plant-based product that helps chelate the heavy metals from our fat stores and moves them through the lymphatics to the liver for removal. And and this Corella, it has more in it. It has some spirulina in it also. That's why it's called Plus. And it's just something that we basically say to follow the instructions on the bottle until the bottle's gone. And what this is that it's a thing. Now, let me explain myself. I don't have a lot of problems. I've worked on myself for a long time, but I just decide I'm going to do stuff every once in a while because it sounds good for you. So we do that, and when we do, I did it the first 2 years I did it, I smelled metal smells in my stools. But at the 3rd year, I quit smelling that. So I think that it does that. Now I'm going to probably within the next year have the rest of my silver fillings replaced. And when I do that, I'm probably going to do Corella to begin with, right before I do the procedure, so it's on board, after the procedure, and finish up my course of that during that time frame, so I can make sure that whatever I am eating, swallowing from that procedure will be picked up by the Corella. There are other ways of doing this. This is a simple, easy thing you should probably do once a year, especially if you eat seafood. And I do eat a lot of it. So because now remember, tuna and salmon just once a week. I don't know how many patients I can tell you that they say, "Oh, Dr. Sprock, I thought that was healthy for you." I eat it every day. They're loaded with mercury because those bigger fish have more mercury in them. Okay. The white fish have them in it too, the shrimp do too, scallops too, crab too, but not as much as the dark fish. Okay, the gallbladder flush. Now, this one is a little tricky. It's also no supplements involved with this one. It's a little tricky because there's one disclaimer at the bottom that we'll go over in a minute, and you have to be a little careful with this. I'm doing some work right now, sort of some experiments on my own patients about weight gain, especially around the middle, and we're finding that people have fatty liver. And I'm working on that. But the issue is that, and that's another topic we're not going to go into today, but as we do this process, we need to make sure you keep your gallbladder. Now, I unfortunately have had mine removed. Mine was emergency and I couldn't avoid it, but you need to keep your liver. We're going to show you why here. I mean, your gallbladder here, because it's very important. So I did this one time. I should have done it every year, but I didn't. And so this is important. So now it looks like part of it's, wait a minute, that's, oh, it looks like there's a page missing. Well, there's something missing. Okay, so the first step, oh, well, there it is in the steps, okay, is that the first 5 days, you drink 6 to 8 ounces of organic apple juice. It'll be cloudy, and it looks like the apple cider, you know, that you've seen before. But for 6 to 8 days, 6 to 8 ounces twice a day. Why would we do that? Because that softens the gallstones, so they're not hard. It makes them soft and pliable and squeezable, so they can squeeze through small spaces. Okay, that's why you do that initially. Now, some people, this is sort of gross, but when they do this treatment, I have one lady yesterday said she counted over 100 gallstones came out.
Oh.
Yeah, so be prepared. On day 6, you're no longer doing the apple juice, but you're drinking a half a cup of olive oil mixed with the juice of half a lemon. It really doesn't taste bad. I know that sounds awful, but it doesn't really taste bad. But do not leave your home for 8 hours. You will be going to the bathroom if you still have a gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, it won't matter. But you will be going to the bathroom. And what that will do is that will make that gallbladder really start pumping, and then those stones are soft, they'll start coming out. And then they'll come out in your bowel movement. Now, this disclaimer at the bottom is, if you have a very large gallstone in your body, it will cause the same reaction, except it will throw you into a full-fledged gallbladder attack. That is the one downside to this particular thing. So if you're sort of concerned about that, you might want us to have us do an ultrasound of your gallbladder before we do it. So we want to look at that. But the issues are is that there is a medication for shrinking gallstones that we can give you. The surgeons will just want to remove it. You'll see why on the next slide. They just want to remove it. But you need your gallbladder. I don't need to go into that. Okay, so bread and butter surgery. For surgeons, the gallbladder removal was a big moneymaker for them over the years, a very big moneymaker. Then they got to the laparoscopic, it was easier on everybody, and so it was better. But because so many people came in for this, okay? Now, the gallbladder is required to complete the loop. Your esophagus opens up when you're eating food to allow it into the stomach. Phase 1. Phase 2, the pyloric, the A is not there, pyloric valve opens to allow partially digested food into the small intestine with the hydrochloric acid that has broken your food down. Fat is not dealt with in the stomach at all. The fat signals the gallbladder to pump out bile into the small intestine to deal with the fat that's there, and then the pancreas actually makes the other digestive enzymes to finish the digestion process. Okay, and then when this process begins, it signals the esophagus valve to shut. Okay, so if you don't have the gallbladder to do that thing, the esophagus won't shut correctly, and that's where GERD comes from. A lot of it's from that. Now, it's actually another thing that causes GERD. It's mechanical, but that is a thing of why you need the gallbladder. And also, I've learned a lot by having mine removed. You can't just put the bile salts and the digestive enzymes in your pill box. You have to take those with food. So what I've done is I put my little bottle on my table in the den where I eat, and I have one on my desk here at the office so that I can remember to take it when I eat, because that's not always so easy to do. You ladies have purses, and you could remember to do that. We guys, we don't have them. But if you'll do this once a year, you may sort of guarantee yourself that you'll never need gallbladder surgery. But you need that. It's part of your system. Appendix, well, we can do without. It may have a purpose. We think it may actually serve the purpose of being a hothouse for your probiotics. So if you don't need to remove it, don't remove it. But if it becomes more trouble than it's worth, then you probably need to remove it. But again, the liver detox, the lymphatic system detox, heavy metals, and gallbladder. Now remember, not all at once. Maybe every 3 months, do one of them, and just pick a time to do it. And they're really not difficult. It's really sort of simple, but it's just a part of cleaning your body out once a year so you don't have trouble with your organ systems. Now, also, the liver detox is, again, probably the most important because it removes a lot of these chemicals that are doing it. But also, remember, I told you about the 5 state workers. It is so plugged up with crap, literally, that it can't do its job. We've got to get that out so it can start doing its job again. And that's really how we process all of our, some of the people I think are highly sensitive medications. I think they're just so full of stuff they can't take one more thing, if you want to know the truth. They can't take one more thing. So that is really part of it. And so we have an incentive if people want to do this tonight. Behind this, our issues are that we really think this is an important thing to do. I was using another product before, but we've decided this is a more superior product. I've used Alpha Base in a previous practice, so I'm real familiar with that one too. So we think that this is a really good place to start once a year. We're not going to force it on people. What I've asked Amanda and Roxana to do is that when we have a new patient, most of you have been here for that, well, we don't have any lab work yet, so we can't make a lot of decisions that day. Well, we could go ahead and start doing the liver detox immediately with that brand new patient so they would be much better to handle as we go through the process. So this is going to be a core to what we do here. Nothing here is ever required. This is highly suggested, is what we're going to tell you. Okay, folks, any questions? And you can ask any 3 of us. Yes, sir?
Would you recommend that we do the lymphatic flush first, according to what you just said a while ago? Does it seem like it would be better to get the sludge out? So that
Well, it's a mixed question. I think that's good thought processing, but you're bringing more toxins to the liver for it to process when it can't process them. So it's sort of a mixed bag. You can go either way. But it doesn't matter to me. I didn't tell you what order to do these in. It doesn't matter. It's just a routine thing that we each think of. Yes, sir?
how do you know if it's 7 days and up or the 28 days deal?
Depends on how sick you are.
Okay.
If you're pretty normal, 7 days. If you're not so normal, 14 days. Then more abnormal, 21 days. And really sick, 28 days.
How about the fruits? You know, you talk about how do you find good fruits that are not got all the stuff on them?
Well, you look for organic. You know, you can't even trust going to farms around here. You don't know what they're using. But you wash your fruit really well.
Even
You know,
organic.
If you get
Yeah.
organic and wash it, will that get most of it off?
most of it. Now, let's just review a point here. You're not going to be ever totally able to get rid of all the toxins in your food or on your food. Do the best you can, okay? Because the liver's supposed to help you with that, fix it, okay? But when we're overloaded is where we get into trouble. So do the best you can. Washing it is a big thing. The first thing your mother used to tell you to do. Why do people get E. coli infections from organic lettuce and not from the regular farm lettuce that it's got all the chemicals on it? Because wild boars run through those things and they do their saliva and it gets on the lettuce and they pack it in the bag. Wash your lettuce. Now some of those lettuces say not to wash it. Well, I don't know that I really believe that. I think you should wash it when you use it. May not wash all of it when you come home. A lot of people talk about filling your sink up with water and putting about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in there, and then put your vegetables and fruits in there for 20 minutes and let it remove the stuff, and then rinse them and put them in the refrigerator.
Oh, so apple cider vinegar will do that.
Yeah, safely.
You do the 7 days, what can you expect to see out of it?
Well, it depends. There's several issues here, and this is what we're going to look at. What you need to pay attention to one is that you may not see anything, but it depends on how messed up your liver is, and that's why I'm saying I think Amanda mentioned might do this once or twice a year. Is that what we're looking for? Is you should have weight loss, not immediately, but it should be easier on your body to not gain weight when you clear your liver up. Because remember, if the liver is not detoxing properly, the toxins rise. Where do the toxins go? Fat. What does the body do to help you store fat? Make more fat. So that's the whole process. As we get rid of the toxins, then you should be able to handle that better. Yes, ma'am.
So if you're going to do a 14-day program, for example, does that mean you have to buy 2 boxes?
Yes.
Thank you.
What about the supplements you already have me on? Do I stop taking them during the detox?
You do not stop taking your regular supplements. You take the others. Now, if you're taking a multivitamin, the alpha base takes the place of that. You would substitute that for your multivitamin while you're on the detox phase.
How about if you're on the amino acid protocol?
It'll work just fine.
Okay.
It'll work fine. You can take any prescription meds you have to and any regular supplement we recommend. You can still take all this. No, we do not want you to go without them.
How long do you have to wait after you do that one before you can do one of the others?
A week or two is all you have to wait, but that's up to you. And so it's not really that difficult. Again, it's a little bit of a hassle. I will tell you that. The first 2 days you're doing fasting here. I do believe there's something in the book that says if you really can't handle that, there are some foods you can eat on those first 2 days. But the fasting process actually makes you start detoxing more rapidly. The shake is mostly fiber that absorbs it to it and pulls it out. That's what the purpose is. That's why we want you to eat vegetables with a lot of fiber in them, because that pulls toxins out. Oatmeal pulls toxins out. I mean, there's all these kinds of things that we can do to pull toxins out. You want it to get attached to something. I could go on for hours about that, but yes, we want you to do that. But that's what that shake is mostly, is as a fiber that helps. It makes you feel fuller. Those who've been to my cooking classes, I talk about the shirataki noodles because it makes you feel fuller. It's only fiber and it has no calories. So, but it also pulls toxins out. So that's part of what we're also doing too.
So does this, with each box that you get, do you go through that fasting again? So when you do it?
No. If you'll read the book, it tells you how to do the 14, the 21, 28 day, how to adapt it to that. And so you figure it out. But again, I think that really, the problem is that with my problem with really sick patients, sometimes I don't want to go real fast in the beginning. I might want to go a little slow and do it over time because they can't handle all that at once. It's so much.
Okay, so really you could do this one package box and then wait a couple of weeks and then just do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay.
Mm-hmm. But again, we're really looking, I know all of y'all here, that I've seen a lot of y'all several times, is that you're tired of gaining the weight back. You go on the diet, you lose the weight, you gain the weight back. Why? Because we haven't fixed the liver. I'm working on some other things too, but we're not going to come out with those tonight. But this is something that I think has been needed to be done for a long time. I think the American public should be trained to do these processes. Even teenagers probably need this. Not small children, even though they're exposed to things. But they can't handle all this. But that's what we're doing here. Any other questions?
Give me 2 boxes.
Well, we're ready tonight if you want some tonight. But we're always going to have it here in the clinic, so don't worry about it. You can come anytime. Literally, if you have friends that want to do this, they don't have to be a member of this clinic to come buy these products from us. But like I said, but the 4, like only 2 we sell, and the other 2 you do on your own. Yes, ma'am.
How much is the Corella?
How much is the bottle? Do you know, Will?
Offhand, I don't know.
Morgan and Emily will know.
She's, would Emily know?
Yeah, Emily will know. And if you'd like to go ahead and purchase the Quarter Store program for the discount tonight, you can just do that tonight.
Okay.
And Emily's here to check you out.
But you can find out. I don't know what the cost is.
So that one you do by yourself, right? By itself, the Corella?
Yeah, it's just something you do. Follow the instructions until the bottle's empty, and then you
You
stop
can
it.
take it at the same time you're doing a detox?
You could. We think that might be a little bit too much on the system to do them both at the same time, so we're not encouraging that.
And again, the core first is what you would recommend.
Yeah, that's really what I would recommend. I think it's the core problem. That's why we call it Core Restore. The other three are adjuncts to the full body detox.
I'll go get my core. So I go to Emily.
Or Morgan. Mhm.